So if you're thinking about making that move to the Houston area and you don't know quite where to start, this video is going to be for you. I'm going to give you all the questions that you need to really ask yourself before you consider making the jump to Houston, Texas. Hi, my name is Aaron. I'm a real estate consultant, and every week I'm helping buyers relocate to and throughout the greater city of Houston and surrounding suburbs. So if you need to know anything about where to eat, sleep, live, play, hit me up morning, noon, or night. I'm your guy. Probably the quickest way to get in touch with me is via text. All of my info is going to be either on the screen or somewhere, in the bio below. But if you need me, hit me up. So I have a lot of clients that are relocating to the greater city of Houston and surrounding suburbs. And I often get tasked with, the moment of helping them figure out kind of where they need to be. And so if you come into this with a blank slate, this can be a little bit challenging just because there's so much variety and so many places and so many different lifestyles that you can get here in the greater city of Houston. So you kind of want to narrow that down. And I think the top 5 or 6 questions that I always ask my clients, I'm going to go over that in this video. And so the first question that I always tend to ask is, you're moving to Houston. How close do you actually want to be to Houston? Right. And so it's rare that somebody will move down here and not really want anything to do with Houston, but it has happened. It has happened where I've had a client call me up saying, hey, I want to move down there. I'm in California right now. I don't want to be anywhere near Houston, but I want to move to Cypress, right? They just wanted nothing to do with Houston. They've heard what they heard. They've heard about the traffic. They've heard about, the crime rate or whatever the case may be. They've heard about whatever it is, right? I don't know. I still don't know to this day, and they've already moved here. I still don't know to this day why they didn't want to be in Houston or around Houston, but they did not want to be around Houston. So if that is the case, there's a bunch of suburbs that give you a ton of different lifestyles. You can be closer to the Dallas, Austin side. You can be closer to the San Antonio side. You can be closer to the coast and go all the way down there to Galveston. So, if your lifestyle isn't going to basically bring you into Houston too often, and you don't need to do anything, to improve your quality of life in Houston, then you can really be out as far as we agree to drive away from Houston. And depending on, kind of what your lifestyle is, you can get a completely different lifestyle. If you want to be around a little bit more greenery, you would be a little bit more north. If you want to be a little bit more flat, you would be out towards the Cadies and all of those things out west, right? So it really honestly just depends on what you're trying to do. But if you don't really need to be that close to Houston, that's pretty much all of the suburbs. So, just on a average distance for distance, if you drive, 30 or 40 miles pretty much in any direction, some of them aren't that far away. If you drive 20 to 40 miles in any direction, you're out of Houston's limits. The Houston ring basically goes very, very far for Harris County. And so if you don't need to, or you don't want to be, if you just pick a direction and drive, 30 or 40 minutes, you're pretty much out of Houston by that point. And so we're just there's bumps all around that little loop, or the rounds of loops that is known as Houston. And so if you don't need to be that close, the world is your oyster down here, and you'll have a lot of options depending on the other questions that we ask coming up now. Really quick, if you're enjoying that content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm doing these kind of videos every week. Let's hop back into the video. And the next thing that I would ask you is, what do you do for work? So if this is kind of piggybacked off that first question. So if your job has you, for example, traveling a lot and you need to be at the airport, then I wouldn't say that we need to be on the extremes of places that aren't really close to the airport, because we have one down south in the Hobby area, and we have our big international one up north in the Spring kind of Humble area. And so if you need an airline that is at the Spring and Humble one, I wouldn't say let's move all the way down to Rasharon, because that could be an hour to 2-hour drive just to get to the airport. If you have a specific school, let's say in the Pearland area, and that's the school system that you're teaching in, and that's where you work, and I wouldn't say, hey, let's go get something in Conroe, because again, you're going to be driving like an hour to maybe 2 hours with minimal traffic just to get to and from work. So picking picking, something that is somewhat close to where you're going to work is big, and I know things have changed a little bit over the last couple of years. A lot of people are remote, and many of my clients are a little bit more remote than they once were. So that can sometimes factor in the factor of, hey, I don't know where I want to be. I don't have to be anywhere because I'm 85-90% remote. I only have to check in, via Zoom or something like that, right? So if that's the case, then we can scratch that one off the list. But if you have somewhere that you physically need to be, one of the worst things that you can do is to be more than 45 minutes away from it here in the city of Houston. My wife and I moved here back in, 2015. We were like 13 miles away from where we were. We lived on the far west side near Katy in the Energy Corridor area, and we were both working downtown, and it was taking us like an hour and a half every day to and from work. And that really just changed how we felt about the city. I really can say that I love being in Houston. And just traffic alone was changing that on a day-to-day basis. Like if we had a good day and it was like a quick day and it was 45 to 50 minutes to get from work back to home, I was like, man, I love Houston. But on a lot of days, probably more days than not, it would be like an hour and a half, close to 2 hours. And so you're in your car, 7 to 10 hours a week just commuting to and from work. That will definitely change how you feel about your new city. And so if you have somewhere to physically be, I would definitely factor that in to where you're living and working, right? And now I would say there's probably some caveats to that. If you work somewhere that is, in an area that is just not something that you're comfortable with, and you don't want to necessarily live, or you work downtown and you can't necessarily afford to be downtown, then we have to have a different conversation about what your budget is, the kind of lifestyle, the kind of house that you want to be in, your overall needs. But yeah, if you can be as close to your work as possible, if you are still going in and you can feel comfortable in that neighborhood, then I would definitely say that that's probably something that should weigh heavily on it, because almost nothing is worse than traffic here. The road rage is crazy just because people are in their cars, like I said, 7 to 10 hours a week just for traffic, for something that they don't necessarily want to do anyway, which is go to work. And so you just feel that energy when you're driving out here. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm doing these kind of videos every week. Let's hop back into the video. The next thing is, and this is the fun topic. What do you like to do for actual fun? Like, what do you like to get into when you're trying to unwind and you're trying to have a good time? Do you like to go to museums? And do you like to go to, theaters? Do you like to go to things downtown? Do you like nature? Do you like to go fish? Do you like trails and hiking and all that stuff, right? One of the beautiful things about being in the greater city of Houston and surrounding suburbs is you can get all of those lifestyles basically within 30 minutes to 45 minutes of Houston, or within Houston, depending on what your budget is. And so it's oftentimes like one of the favorite places that we've ever lived was down on the bayou in the Montrose kind of midtown area. We were renting an apartment down there. And one of our things was like, man, if we could ever afford to live down here, we're literally walking distance to the bayou, which is one of my favorite places in the city of Houston. It's so peaceful. Some days it can be a little chaotic and a little crazy, just with the number of people on a pretty day. On a pretty day like today, it would probably be packed, so I would probably avoid it a little bit. But when you can get out there and you can get a parking spot, there's just so many miles of just like trail that you can go up along that bayou. You can really relax, unwind. I used to run out there. There's people out there doing classes. There's people out there painting, people out there playing with their families. It's just a fun time for free for the most part outside of parking. I think it's like $2 for like 5 hours of parking. But other than that, it's just like a really great time. And that's one of those things, one of the best free things that I like to do in the city of Houston. And me and my wife just really get enjoyment out of it. We go out there probably once or twice a week, just to kind of get out of our area and to see some nature and to just kind of be around something that's a little bit more tranquil. But for those people that like to, let's say, fish, and they want to be off the coast and they want to hit Galveston, or they want to be up in some of these trails up on the northwest side where it's a little bit greener and a little bit more lush, you can get all of those lifestyles just based on what you're trying to do. Now, I can say that if you plan on going to, if let's say Galveston, let's just pick one. Let's say Galveston is a part of your lifestyle and it's something that you and your family do often. Then I wouldn't suggest maybe living in the Woodlands, because that could be between an hour and a half and 2 hour commute for something that you claim you and your family really want to do. And so I don't want you to move here with the intent of, man, we're going to be on that coast all the time, and then you move 2 hours away from the coast, because that'll eventually change. You're not going to want to make that drive, right? So we have to have a different conversation about what's important. What community can we get you down there to get you a little bit closer, that you still feel comfortable with the lifestyle, and mixing in what you like to do for fun, what you like to do for, or what you have to do for work. We have to try to balance that out and see what wins out, and ultimately, what is your budget and how that all aligns together. But if there's something that you like to do for fun, so me and my wife really struggle with this, because we're at this point where we're having those conversations about setting our daughter up for educationally for, the next steps, when she's going to go to school, who her friends going to be, what are the demographics of that area. And a lot of our fun things that we like to do and places we like to go, I just told you one of them was the Bayou, which is in the center of the city. So anytime we think about or look at going to somewhere that's super nice and pretty, and it's a master plan gated community that has all the schools and all that stuff on site, we really have to sit down and we're just like, man, but we really be giving up the ability to just randomly go to this restaurant, or randomly just go to the Bayou, or randomly just go to this museum, without it being like a 40 minutes to an hour commitment, basically, from any other suburb. Because we'd be leaving the city, right? So it's one of those things that you have to really think out, because it's not the hugest deal to have to drive, and especially with us being in the entrepreneurial space, we can kind of go and come as we choose, but it kind of takes away that ability to really just enjoy the city like we currently do, and that's something that we're currently struggling with. I think we're going to ultimately give in and end up going to the suburbs, but for right now, we're not in a rush to really give up the current lifestyle that we have, just because Chandler is still so young. But it's something that you have to think about. What do you like to do for fun? Chandler likes to go to the zoo and look at the animals, and she loves going to the aquarium and seeing the fish, and she knows what a shark is, so she's just pointing and she's really having a great time. And if I'm 45 to an hour away from that, am I really doing that to the level at which Chandler maybe likes? And I would probably say no, because traffic here to me is very ass, right? So it's one of those things that you have to weigh in. Where do you work? What do you like to do for fun? Is there a place in the middle where that both works? Is there a place, on one end, because you're going to do one a little bit more, but you're not sacrificing the thing that you actually like to do for fun? Where is that? And how can we get you in a home that fits that? If you're still here, I'm going to assume that you're liking the content. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm doing these kind of videos every week, giving you the good, the bad, the ugly of what it's like to live in the city of Houston and the surrounding suburbs. Let's hop back into the video. The next thing is amenities. And so this is more so I would say more so for the newer purchasers. If you're buying in an older resale sort of situation, those amenities are already set. That tennis court is already there. It's been there for 30 or 40 years. That pool has already been there for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So if you're lucky, that stuff has been renovated and it's a little bit more modernized. But this is more so for the people that are, looking for the amenities in a new construction community. Do you need something that's very minimalist, where your HOA is going to be a little bit smaller, right? Where you're basically just paying for trash, water, and a little splash pad, or a little swing set for a couple kids in a couple sections, right? Or are you going all out and you want the Olympic style pools, you want the gyms, you want the walking trails, you want your own section lakes, you want your own boating dock, you want your own crystal blue lagoon resort style living? All of those things you can get depending on your budget and where you're trying to be. Like I said, Houston is I've never seen anything like it. It has so many different lifestyles and so many different amenities, and these developers are really going crazy out here with just the concepts that they're bringing to the area. it is so gorgeous. Like there's so many communities where you have schools on site, you have restaurants on site, you have conservatories on site, you have welcome centers on site, you have the gyms on site, you have all these places where you can do classes on site, you have just so many amenities. The resort style, Crystal Blue, a couple of my favorite, Sierra Vista, Lagomar, Balmoral, a couple of them are just super gorgeous communities where it's like you're literally there and you feel like you're in a resort. You feel like you don't ever have to leave. And that's just something that you can't necessarily get in an older community. But older communities have their, the things that they're great at as well. Some of these communities downtown and midtown and have these great architectures, and they're walking distance to certain eateries and bars and things of that nature, right? So there's definitely amenities that you have to ask yourself, what do you need? What's important? If you're in the museum district and you can literally walk to all of these different historical museums, like it's just it's so much lifestyle variance that you can have here in the greater city of Houston is one of the reasons why I love it so much. But it definitely, you have to ask yourself, what amenities do you need? Do you need to be on a golf course? We have some communities like that. Do you need to be on a lake? We have some communities up north on a lake. We have some down south on some of these man-made lakes as well. So it really just depends on the lifestyle and the amenities that you're gonna need. Town Lake, that whole community in Cypress is basically surrounded by lakes, right? So there's some people have direct backyard access to a dock that they can now drive up to the town center. It's really cool. I'm gonna probably put some B-roll in here of that, but man, it's really the lifestyle that you want to live. You can get it here depending on your budget. You can get it here, and it's definitely something that you want to think about, the lifestyle and amenities and things that you like to do, because you can pretty much get anything that you want down here for a fairly reasonable amount. And the last thing is, and this is kind of tied to those amenities, it's a tricky one. It's the taxes. So if you are someone that is coming from maybe a place, like a lot of my clients are coming from a place that has a higher dollar value for what their real estate cost. So, for a 2,000, 3,000 square foot house, it might be 600,000-700,000, but their tax rate is low. And so you come down here and you're like, okay, but for 400,000 or 500,000, I can get this much house. And I have to say, but wait, this is a new community. The taxes are going to be this. And many times my clients are shocked when they move or they're about to move here and they see that the tax rate is 3 to 4%. And so with an entry point of 400,000 on a lot of these places, you're going to be paying like $1,000 a month just in taxes before you can homestead it. So it's one of those things of, yes, you're getting the walking trails. Yes, you're getting the gated communities. Yes, you're getting the amenities. Yes, you're getting the patrol guards and all that stuff. Yes, you're getting the schools on site. Yes, you're getting the lakes and the pontoon boats and all those cool things and amenities that come with living in a place like that. Yes, you're getting it, but is it worth it for the taxes, right? Before we had our daughter Chandler, I don't know if paying a high tax to be in any of those resort style kind of communities would make sense, because if we didn't have the reasoning or the rationale to pay a high tax for a school, it wouldn't necessarily make sense for us to do that if we didn't have a kid, right? Other than just liking the community. But to pay $1,000 a month just to like the community, I don't know. That's something that you would have to ask yourself to see if that's something that you would actually want to do. But if you want to be down south and you want to be close to Galveston but not necessarily live in Galveston, then a Dickinson's or a Texas City down there, and they have their own amenities, but again, those taxes are higher, right? So it really just depends on what you're trying to do for fun, what the lifestyle is, what work is all about, and ultimately, when we sit down and we have that conversation, we can figure out exactly where you need to be. So that's the video for the day. Did these questions help? If you're thinking about making that move, you can hit me up morning, noon, or night. Hit me with a text. Send me a carrier pigeon, whatever you got to do to get in touch with me. I'm here to help. Like I said, most of my clients are people like you coming from YouTube that are making that move from wherever they are to make a part of the city of Houston and surrounding suburbs a part of their new lifestyle and where they choose to call their new home. and I love helping out. So if there's anything I can ever help you with, feel free to reach out. How did I do? Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button. I'm doing these kind of videos every week, giving you the good, the bad, the ugly of everything there is to know about the city of Houston and the surrounding suburbs. And I'm here to help in any way that I can. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you have an amazing day.